Today we carry on with our NHL season previews for the upcoming 21-22 season. Today we take a look at another team that's been very much in the news as of late, the Carolina Hurricanes. What moves have they made? How will they be different from last year? And what are my predictions on where they finish? We'll discuss that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we're kicking off season previews here. This is video number 2 in the series. We started yesterday with Montreal. Today we're doing Carolina. I wanted to do these two teams back to back because of the news that we've seen here. There have been the teams that heavily discussed in the news cycle lately with the offer sheet, and then the Habs responding with the trade after and everything. So I just thought it'd be good to kind of compare them and see how they're each looking now for the upcoming season. Of course, we'll carry on with the rest of the league here coming up right after this. I think we're just going to kind of go on a random method here and kind of jump around. I know I debated on different ways to go about it. We go by division, go alphabetically, and I've done a series quite often here lately. We've always seemed to have one on the go, and I think I'm just going to go random with this one, so I'm not sure exactly when you're going to get each team, so just stay tuned. They will all be covered here in the coming days ahead of the start of the regular season. Now, first up, we're going to recap the Hurricanes last season, take a look at how things went, take a look at their subtractions, additions, any rookies that might have an impact, and then we'll discuss their depth chart and where I see them likely finishing this year. So first up, let's look at their recap from last year. They had an awesome year. They were in first place in the newly revamped Central Division. Of course, in the 56-game campaign that we just completed in 2021, all of the divisions were different. They were in a tough division, though, and still got first place with a 36-12-8 record. Ended up losing to the eventual Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning in round number 2. Was overmatched, but you know what? They still had an excellent season and can continue, hopefully, to build on this. Looking at their scoring leaders from last year, Sebastian Aho was a leader in all categories, goals, assists, and points, with 24 goals, 33 assists, 57 points. Vincent Trocheck was their number 2 point getter with 43 points. And then Dougie Hamilton and Andrei Svechnikov both had 42 points. So those were your top leading point getters for the Hurricanes last year. And of course, most of those, except for one, will be returning this year. Now, of course, taking a look at special teams, they were really, really solid last year. The Canes had a power play percentage of 25.6 and a PK percentage of 85.3. So they were very high ranked, well above league average in both categories. And I do expect that is likely to continue. However, this team, even though they had a lot of success the past couple of years, is going to look a fair bit different. But let's start by examining the exits and which players are no longer with this club. And the big one right off the hop here is Dougie Hamilton. I mean, he was one of the top right shot defensemen in the game. Basically, they get outbid for his services by the Devils. As much as they would have liked to be able to retain him, they just had no appetite whatsoever to go anywhere near the contract that New Jersey was offering. So Dougie Hamilton ends up getting moved along. They traded Warren Foegele to the Edmonton Oilers. Brock McGinn ended up signing as a free agent with the Penguins. Jake Bean, another young defenseman who they spent a lot of time developing and really getting well-seasoned, I guess you could say, in the American League. It's going to finally get more of an opportunity. He was traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets, so that'll help him get a more of a bigger role. Morgan Geekie ended up leaving the team via expansion to this new Seattle Kraken. Cedric Paquette, who was acquired last year, they picked him up from Ottawa, finished the year in Carolina, and then now he is heading off as a free agent to the Montreal Canadiens. Defenseman Yanni Hakanpää, who was a nice find, somebody they grabbed on waivers, also departed via free agency, and he signed with the Dallas Stars. Goaltenders, all 3 goalies that were in their system last year, all gone, which is the biggest surprise for this team, and by far going to be the biggest change. Young goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic, who appeared to be the goaltender of the future, somebody they spent a ton of time developing and really honing his craft, playing a big role with their minor league team. Finally gets an opportunity to play a bigger role with the NHL team last year, and then they would not pay him what he wanted. He was looking for $3.5 million. They didn't want to pay that. They wanted more experience in goal, and they ended up trading him to Detroit. Peter Mrazek and James Reimer both left via free agency, with Mrazek going to the Leafs, Reimer going to the Sharks. Nedeljkovic trade brought back Jonathan Bernier, but basically the rights to Bernier, and they didn't sign him either. So they certainly had a lot of goaltending exits, which was absolutely mind-boggling. They just would not pay some of these guys, but looking at what they brought in and who they would pay, to me it was just kind of surprising. Now let's jump over now and take a look at the additions, the players that are essentially going to be replacing the guys that we just talked about as being gone from the organization here. In goal, we're going to have a tandem of Freddie Anderson, who comes over from Toronto, and Antti Raanta, who comes over from the Coyotes. Now, looking at what they had last year, this is a surprising move. I mean, Nedeljkovic is much younger than any of these guys, wouldn't have come at a more expensive price. So to me, I'm still extremely surprised that they went in a different direction. I can tell you that there was a lot of talk that they've had their eye on Freddie Anderson for a long time, though, and it was a player they were interested in dating back some time. So not a huge shocker they went that way. Anderson and Raanta are both good goaltenders, but I just don't know that they're better. Mrazek and Nedeljkovic have been pretty darn good themselves. So we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit further later on in the video here. Of course, they acquired Ethan Bear in that Warren Foegele trade. Bear will be a nice addition to their blue line. You get Jalen Chatfield they signed as a free agent from Vancouver. Tony DeAngelo, who comes with a reputation and a little bit of a situation in the Rangers organization where he was basically expelled for too many issues with teammates. DeAngelo's situation is kind of unique in the sense that he had a lot of issues, got to the point where they had to get rid of him, but he still had a lot of teammates that really liked him and he got along very well with too. Like he's a very polarizing figure, so I don't know how things are going to work in that regard, but it's on-ice play. He can certainly help drive some offense, so we'll see if he can help replace some of the offense lost from Dougie Hamilton. They also signed Josh Lebo, who comes over from Calgary, and of course Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who they got via offer sheet on a $6.1 million deal on a one-year contract. Apparently they have already discussed what an extension could look like. They cannot officially negotiate and sign that until January. But still, this is a mind-boggling situation where they would not pay Dougie Hamilton, one of the top defensemen in the game. They would not pay a young goaltender in Nedeljkovic that they absolutely have spent tons of time developing and improved himself last year, was in a Rookie of the Year conversation, a huge part of their regular season and playoff success. But they will pay Kotkaniemi, whom everybody agrees is nowhere near a $6 million player, at least not right now. I think most people would also agree that he does have a lot of potential for the future, and it may get to the point later on that he becomes maybe a $4 or $5 million middle six player, but right now he's not quite there. So the whole thing is somewhat surprising. With the news that they have already discussed terms on a longer term extension, to me, you overpay for 1 year to get the player who they really like and apparently have had their eye on since his draft year, to get him on a longer term contract for less money in the not too distant future here before the season's over, so you don't have to qualify him at the 6.1. I mean, it's a gamble for sure, and they give up a first and a third round pick in that process. Now, of course, they also bring in veteran defenseman Brendan Smith, and they also sign veteran center iceman Derek Stepan. Of course, Smith comes from the Rangers organization. Derek Stepan last played for Ottawa, missed a chunk of the year with knee surgery. He certainly lost a step in somebody who can be a good leader. I'm not sure how productive, though, he is going to be. Now, when it comes to rookies, are they going to have any rookie additions here to this lineup that are really going to have an impact? I mean, I know we talk a lot about different players on the organization, but do they have impact rookies is the big question. And to me, there's not a lot in Carolina that I think is going to get a whole lot of opportunity. The main ones to me that would make the most sense, and it's probably going to depend on injuries, would be Ryan Suzuki or Jack Drury. I mean, Drury's 21, Suzuki's 20. They both have a little bit of pro experience under their belts now. Drury did play last year over in Sweden after coming over from Harvard University. So, he had a good year over there playing for the Vaxo Lakers as well. So Drury could be an option. I mean, he'll probably start in the AHL, but could be a call-up option. So we'll see how that goes. Another guy to watch might be Dominic Bach, but he's going to have to make some strides over last year before he gets a real chance. And instead of Ryan Suzuki, who also played some AHL time last year, didn't really show to be NHL ready as of yet, put up 10 points in 26 games. They would be your options should they get to that point here with their lineup. But at the same time, like I said, right now, the Hurricanes have a pretty deep lineup, and it's going to have to take at least a couple of injuries before they really dip into that kind of pool and see what options they have to bring in some more youth along the way here. Now we're going to take a look at the depth charts and the potential line combinations for this team heading into the season. Now, of course, we're going to use dailyfaceoff.com. If you've been following the series, I know this is only video number 2, but with Montreal, we're going to use this for every video. They have a great resource here on their website. There was no point in kind of recreating the wheel, so I thought we would use their line combo from their website, and of course, shout them out in the process. Daily Faceoff is really becoming one of the top resources in NHL hockey news and statistics, so certainly recommend you check them out here. Of course, they have a top line likely showing here is Aho, Svechnikov, and Teravainen. Of course, you got a second line of Trocheck, Natchez, and Niederreiter. Third line potential of Stahl, Kotkaniemi, and Foss. And a fourth line of Levo, Steven Lorentz, and Jordan Martinook. Now, with Kotkaniemi playing center in Montreal, they have announced, and Don Waddell has confirmed, he's going to start on the wing. There's just no way he's going to get time to play center minutes. And they're not going to pay somebody $6 million to play a fourth line center. That doesn't make any sense. And if he has a real good camp, there is a possibility he could maybe can try to compete with Niederreiter for a top 6 spot. But I do think it's a more likely scenario we see him on a third line with Stahl and Foss. I think these line combos are extremely accurate. On the blue line, you're looking at Slavin Pesce, Brady Shea, Tony DeAngelo, and the third pair of Ian Cole and Ethan Bear. And of course, like I said, between the pipes, you got Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta. So overall, they have a pretty good looking lineup here. My main concern is, can they replace the offense on the back end from Dougie Hamilton? I mean, if you look at the blue line, it's still really good. It's a different composition back there. They better hope that Tony DeAngelo can help with the offense, or maybe Brady Shea can step up. I mean, he in the past has, at times been a decent offensive guy. I mean, Slavin and Pesce are, not that they don't produce so much offense, but they're just not a top offensive guy. Like, they're going to be your main pair that's going to play a lot of the defensive minutes. Very underrated in that regard. So obviously they're hoping that Tony D on a bargain contract can give you some of that offense that Hamilton is missing. And if he can do that, then they're going to be just fine. The forward group is not all that different enough. The pieces that they lost or traded were not big main pieces. So to me, you're in good shape that way. Your goaltending is certainly a little bit of a question mark. Ranta and Anderson have both shown cases of having a lot of injuries the past couple years. Neither one of them are really super old, but they're not super young either. Ranta's 32, Anderson's 31. If they run into injuries in goal like they have the past couple years, it really could be a situation too that they could be onto like a third string goaltender already, which could be a guy like an Alex Lyon who they signed, 28 years old, likely going to play in the minors, but be a number 3 option for them. That to me is my main concern. The forward group is similar enough. The D group is still really good, but lacking some offense. But DeAngelo might be able to replace that. Can the goaltenders hold up? Now, they dealt with a lot of goaltending injuries last year, and they were fine. But because Nedeljkovic was able to carry the ball for a long stretch, they were okay. So to me, that's my main concern. So in a fairly tight Metropolitan Division, I see them likely finishing in that 2-3 spot. Definitely going to be a playoff team. I have no concerns about that. You have teams like the Islanders are going to be really tough. The Capitals are always really tough regular season teams. The Flyers look like they've gotten a lot better. At least they look to be on paper. And the Penguins are probably about the same maybe. So like you're going to have 4 or 5 teams battling there for 4 spots potentially. I mean, I'm not sure that you're going to see 5 teams on the division get into playoffs based on the strong teams in the Atlantic. So it's tough. I mean, they should be a playoff team though. And I'm going to say they're going to be that number 2, number 3 spot heading into the upcoming regular season here and have a good shot here making a deep playoff run once again. I think they'll be built fine for playoffs. It's just a matter of getting there and who their opponents are going to be. But certainly let me know your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes regular season. Do you like the additions they've made? Are they a better team? Are they about the same? What are your thoughts on all the moves we've seen? They've been one of the more polarizing teams that have made some, I guess you could say some head-scratching moves, but overall, I still am a big fan of what this roster looks like. I just wonder that they might be just a little bit weaker, and they have a few question marks, but if those questions can be answered, they can still be an awesome team. So let me know your thoughts down below. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. Plenty more videos coming in the season preview category, as well as lots of other content covering all the latest news and rumors on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.